Just a quick one on the Electoral Commission today. Now, if you don't know what the Electoral Commission is, it's an independent, allegedly independent body that was set up by the British Parliament, and it oversees all the elections. So it registers people who want to stand for election, it registers parties, it maintains accounts, blah, blah, blah. And I saw the story today. Leave.eu fined £70,000 for breaking electoral law during a referendum. Now, I know Aaron Banks, who's the big funder behind Leave.eu, is disputing this. He's saying actually it's just a disagreement over how much management was paid during the referendum. And you know that this always happens when you're spending millions and millions and millions and you go a few thousand over. I mean, it's going to happen at some point. There's going to be some kind of dispute. So as far as I know, Aaron Banks is taken to this to court. We'll see how that pans out. And by the way, it's not just the Brexit side that's been in trouble for stuff like this. The other sides had difficulty with it as well. It's bound to happen in a referendum where people are paying millions and millions and millions and millions and battling like hell for a proper result. And by the way, might I add, the left are now going to start talking about how this voids Brexit. In fact, there is an article here. Here we go. It's in The Guardian, of all places. What did Leave.eu do wrong, and could its breaches stop Brexit? It's already started. That's what they want to do. All they want to do is use any little thing to try and stop Brexit. Oh, they might have spent a few thousand over. Well, actually, let's talk about not just Brexit's side spending a few £1,000s extra on management. Why aren't we talking about the leaflet that Her Majesty's government sent out to every single home in the country without giving right of reply to the other side? Do you remember this leaflet? Why the government believes that voting to remain in the European Union is best decision for the UK. I remember burning mine in an open fire. That was quite fun. But you know, it was completely unfair, completely unbalanced, and if Leave.eu paid a few thousand extra in management fees, then I don't see how that's worthy of overturning the Brexit referendum results. But I saw a video of Aaron Banks talking about the Electoral Commission in particular, and I thought it was interesting. Watch this.
They don't just enforce them against Leave UK, so you can't really claim a political witch hunt, can you?
Absolutely. Look what the chairman of the Electoral Commission said, that the Brexit campaign was a collection of Eurosceptic nonsense. One of the other board members said, I agree with Tony Blair, the referendum result should be overturned. You know, another one said the young should ignore the result of the referendum. This is a collection of former politicians from the Liberal Party, the SNP, ex-Labour leader councils. I mean, one thing that amazes me is, why is our electoral process being overseen by former has-been politicians appointed to a body?
Fine point. Why is it that the Electoral Commission is packed full of former politicians and people with clear bias? And it made me think about a story of my own a few years ago when I stood for election. I know I've mentioned it a few times now that I stood for election. Please don't think that I stood for a big party or did very well at all. It only takes a quick cursory search to see that my election results have not been amazing. But I've only ever stood for a small party, so there we go. But there was a story here, and it's when I stood for election in, when was it? Was it 2015? Anyway, the article's from 2016. I forget my exact election. But I received notice. Oh wait, 2016. So this was the election when I stood for Joe Cox's seat in Batley and Spen. That was the one. So I received a judgment from the Electoral Commission on my slogans. Now, you're allowed to register a party name or a description when you stand for election. And we chose to go for a description rather than just the party name because, without boring you, the logo had the name in it, so we thought we'll use a description to give voters one last reason to vote for us. So I gave them 5 options. Vote for real people, not politicians. Western civilization, British culture, free speech. Halt immigration, tackle extremism, defend freedom. Halt immigration and extremism, defend freedom. And replace corrupt politicians, vote Liberty GB. Now, I got notice from the Electoral Commission saying, I'm writing to inform you that under the Commission's duty to maintain the register of political parties, descriptions and emblems in accordance with the requirements of the Political Parties, Elections and Referendums Act 2000, we have conducted a review of your party identifiers. This has resulted in some of your party descriptions being removed from the register for reasons of not meeting the statutory requirements of blah blah blah. The review was carried out as part of the Commission considering the register in the context of the forthcoming Batley and Spen parliamentary by-election, taking into account the likely impact on voters there of the tragic circumstances that have caused the need for a by-election. So, things are sensitive. The review identified the following registered party descriptions are in the opinion of the Commission offensive, and they listed those 5 options I gave you, including Western civilization, British culture, free speech. Western civilization, British culture, free speech is offensive. And this is, of course, according to the Electoral Commission, which is unbiased, by the way. So I said at the time, the idea that the British Electoral Commission could consider Western civilization, British culture and free speech to be offensive is extremely telling. First I was attacked just for standing in the election, and now I'm being punished. And I was. But this isn't the only thing I've had with the Electoral Commission. There have been multiple other instances. So it will be interesting to see whether Arron Banks can take these sods to court. The Electoral Commission have far too much control. They have far too much sway over even minor things that they think are minor decisions, but actually are big decisions for smaller parties. This is a biased organisation, in my opinion, so I wish Arron Banks the very best of luck in pursuing this in court if he does end up doing that. If you want to see more from me and the rest of the Rebel team, remember to download our app on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and like and subscribe.